Now I've got my work down to almost zero waste and using almost entirely recycled materials, and that fits with my ethos really strongly. So I think the fact that I create these animals from the cardboard and then people are actually feeling the emotions of the animals, I hope that that creates a message about the materials we use and the impact it has on the animals and their environment. Hi, my name is Josh. I'm an artist from London. I make animal sculptures out of recycled materials. I started using found and recycled materials in school. Background was always in traditional painting, but I always loved finding materials out on the streets, in skips like big doors, and I started painting on them, and I even started making instruments out of discarded wood, and I just loved transforming something that had been thrown away or discarded and turning it into something beautiful. I've always used charity shop clothes and wood, but over lockdown I started to use recycled cardboard. I didn't have the access to the materials that I normally have, and we kept getting deliveries, or family kept getting deliveries, and there was more and more cardboard in the house, and I just started to experiment with that, and I found it was a really amazing material. Now that cardboard is my main material, it's just such an easy material to find. Whether you find it on the streets, when people put out their recycling, or family and friends always have cardboard, it's just really changed the way I work because it's everywhere. And even when I'm making my animals that have faux fur or different kinds of materials on top, the internal structure is always built from cardboard. So it's really just made my work so much easier to make. My sculptures are usually quite big. I usually make life-size sculptures, so I could actually make things that were really big and not too heavy. But also, all the different textures and tones were really useful in creating the animals, and it was actually a really amazing intervention, finding cardboard. All my sculptures are of animals. I've always loved animals since I was a child, and it's always been a dream of mine to go and see animals in the wild. So after university, I saved up all my money working as a waiter and saved to go and travel for a year. And we went all over Asia, in Australia and New Zealand. And then when we came back, we decided we wanted to go again, so we went and did South America and Africa as well. And what struck me, even though I was seeing these amazing animals in the wild, was that there was so much waste everywhere, specifically plastic. And when I came back, I knew I wanted to make art about animals, but I knew that I didn't want to be using harsh materials and materials that would make a lot of waste. So I worked really hard thinking about how I can make my work more sustainable, and that's how I got to cardboard eventually. When I choose the animal that I want to create, I look at lots and lots of pictures to see the different angles so that I can get a sense of how it will look three-dimensionally. Often I'll go to the Natural History Museum to take pictures from different sides so that I can see how it will look. And then it's lots of sketching and lots of working out the sizes and a little bit of maths, just to figure out the scale and where the eyes are in relation to the nose and that kind of thing. When I choose the animals I want to create, I always think about the emotional connection I have with those animals and the emotional connection I can create with the viewers. And that's really important for me because I not only want to create these animals, but I want people to respond to them and to really respond to the materials and think about the way we use materials as well. So I want that to have as much of an impact as the actual piece. When I create my animals, I focus a lot on the eyes and the depth of the personality, like I would paint a person. And I really try and focus on that to build that connection. So when I start a sculpture, I often start with one big piece of thick cardboard and start to draw the outline from the side of the animal that I'm going to create, and then from the front. And then I will stick those two together and create intersections throughout the sculpture to create a solid base, similarly to a balsa sculpture, something that I used to make as a child, where pieces slot together and it creates a shape of an animal. After that, I'll use smaller, thinner pieces of cardboard to wrap around the shape, and that's how I start to create the form. And then the more detail I do, the thinner the pieces of cardboard until I get to paper, different colors, different textures, and that's how the cardboard process works. Charity shops have always been a really important part of my process. Around London where I've lived, there's always been loads of charity shops. And because some of the animals I create have different furs, often the cardboard I don't think would suit that animal. For example, my llamas, I really love the fact that they have this huge fluff and fur, and I really want to capture that. So when I go into the charity shops and I see these different faux fur cardigans or jackets, I just get so excited because I can already see my llama coming to life. And I love the fact that I'm using something that someone didn't want anymore, so it really ties in with the way I work, and also it helps the charities. So it's kind of the whole process is really rewarding for me. But then I will start to look at the materials I've gathered, the faux furs, the different textures, and start to think about how they complement each other. And then I will stick those on top of the cardboard. Usually it takes me 3 or 4 weeks to make one of my sculptures. I usually spend 2 or 3 days working solidly on the shape to create the initial form, and then over the next week or two I start creating one more, and then it's a lot of looking at the sculpture and seeing how it's developing and really spending time figuring out how I want it to look. But I like to create the first shape and then respond to how I feel about it, and then over the next month I may be working on 3 or 4 pieces at the same time, but I have different ideas and I'm looking at all my materials, so it takes me time to actually think about how it's going to look in the end. I think people respond to the cardboard sculptures because cardboard is a material that is so familiar to us, and lots of people will either throw it away or just recycle it. So to see the animals come to life using cardboard is something I think that people really respond to, and I'm hoping that it makes people also think about how we use materials and how we can recycle, and also the environmental impact of that. So I think the fact that I create these animals from the cardboard, and then people are actually feeling the emotions of the animals, I hope that creates a message about the materials we use and the impact it has on the animals and their environments. I've always loved seeing people react or connect with my work. It's really an exciting part of the process for me. So when I showed my work last year for the first time in a few shows, it was just a really amazing experience. Obviously, creating animals, people love animals, so they were really interacting with the work, and that brings me a lot of joy, whether it's connecting to the more emotional pieces like the orangutan or even the elephant and the eyes, or whether they're enjoying the llamas and the fun. All of that is a really rewarding process for me, and it's a part that I really love. I see myself continuing to create life-size animal sculptures, and hopefully making even bigger pieces and more ambitious works, and continuing to give back to animals, and using my art to spread a positive message. I think lots of artists are starting to use more recycled materials and think about sustainability, and not just artists, lots of companies. So I think that's a really positive thing, and hopefully we're headed in a better direction, and I hope that my art can have a tiny influence in people connecting with these animals and thinking about how we can help to preserve them and you know, keep our world wild and beautiful.